Hello and welcome to another edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Recently when I've been doing some live solving, for me my times haven't been quite what I was thinking when I was solving the puzzle. I'd be doing quite well. The time would come in over 6 minutes. My average is about 6 minutes 10 seconds, and I'd be thinking, that's strange, that was quite a good puzzle. So what I decided to do today, just one puzzle isn't necessarily a sample, but I thought I'd solve it on my own with no distractions in the room, no kids for once, so gave it a go like that and without talking about it. And now I'm going to play that solve just so we can see how that went and whether it went quickly. So I struggled with one across here. Buzzer's high-pitched sound quietly ignored by Beadle. Didn't really get anything going there, and I thought it was something to do with bees, but I didn't know what. One down was fairly straightforward. Fundamental is a very good definition of basic, so then I just needed to spot sick and AB rising. Now, part of Ulster, I'm going to pause it here. The phrase that's 6-9, part of Ulster, a gouty Frenchman recollected. Well, the first thing I saw in this clue was that there's a ragout hidden in part of Ulster, a gouty. And I thought, that looks very suspicious, but the whole clue surely can't be then a definition of ragout, because that would be taking indirectness too far. And in the end, I suddenly figured that part of Ulster is quite likely to be county something, and I was pretty sure in my mind that the only 9-letter county in Ulster was County Fermanagh. Then I could just about see that the letters for that were in this anagram, as it turns out it is, of a gouty Frenchman. So went on with that. 3 down, I think I wrote in scrap here, something around CR for creditor, and it had to mean cancel, so I thought that has to be scrap, even though I couldn't see how SAP was a regular payment. But then I could work out that 3 down, bishop fed to confused monarch for seafood, that could be lobster rather than lobster. So I could change scrap to scrub, which gives us sub. That made a lot more sense. I'm not sure if I could still figure out the buzzer in one across, which is a bit sad at this point. It's fairly straightforward now. So I think I had a look at 2 down, where we need some sort of noble sun, position of noble. Sun settled in large tent. I was thinking, what sort of noble fits there? Earl something, Marquis something. And I realized that a marquee was a large tent, and there must be a word marquisate, which has S-sat in the marquee. Now I can see it must be Bumble at one across, but I'm thinking about Bumbledom, which was the state of the beadle in Oliver Twist, I think. Or is it Pickwick Papers? I'm not sure. Anyway, Bumblebee was the answer. Beep lost its P. And then fairly straightforwardly, Bree, fist and extort at 4 and 5 down. A double definition at 10 across, pretty straightforwardly for intriguer. 6 down, slightly rude. A git at O is agitato. And 7 down, old French coin. I was all ready to write in écu, but then I started actually looking at the clue and realized it must be the other one, sou. Couldn't see 8 down immediately, but 6 across was a write-in model pose backed by A for Aesop. And now I can see the heavy horse at 8 down because I know this word, percheron, which is a percher on, very neat. 12 down was to be my last one in, very hard this. Members of High Court live over it, surrounded by attendants. 13 across, I was thinking could be mistress or distress, and it's affliction at the end of the clue, so distress. Poser around you for poser, poser. Couldn't remember the region of Nigeria at 16 across. Couldn't make the clue for Ibadan, which I think is a large town in Nigeria. 18 across, couldn't get much from that. So I had to have a think about the phrase at 21 across. Looks like it might begin with the, but there is a nice alternative, and it makes you merry. So something to do with being drunk, and 1 over the 8 works quite well. It's a homophone of 1 over, which is very neat. And then those having a row is the 8, rather than having a row. Very clever clue. 13 down, took me a while to piece together the IOU with Sly from Midsummer Night's Dream, for dubiously. Yucca was more straightforward, as was lack, because I happen to know this word from Chambers from a lot of listener solving. It means 100,000 rupees, apparently. Second medal, silver something, clearly a silver fur in this case, in a French holiday region, had to be the Riviera. So it was indeed Biafra, which I could now remember. Hasn't really been in the news for about 40 years, but I had heard of it. This is a very odd word. I'm familiar with anchorite for a hermit, but this had to be chore in A-N-T. So I was assuming there is another word, anchoret, and wrote that in. 19 down, fairly straightforward. European shelter seemed it had to be E-Lee. So you put a tax in that and you get elevate. The judge is a ref in PA, so that's prefab. I've heard, again, another dictionary word of Tonga as a two-wheeled vehicle. Don't know from what era or anything. Probably from the horse-drawn era, I suppose. Still didn't know what 12 down was, so had to figure out underpin, the identifications of pin number there. And then I know this old jacket is Acton, which is action without the I. Battersea had to be the London area with a batter. And then 12 down had to be with bat and terse in Battersea. So I had to work out the wordplay of 12 down. I knew it was something to do with Areopagus, which is, I think, an area of Greece or where some sort of high court, quite possibly where some sort of nobles sat in Athens. But I wasn't sure if this was going to be Areopagitus or something like that. And I had to work out that live is R, over is O, from the cricket abbreviation. And then you've got it surrounded by attendants. Well, they have to be pages for this to work. And that gives us Areopagites, which must be the members of the High Court of the Areopagus. And that's my last one in. In it goes. And indeed, my time was quicker than it's been recently, 5 minutes, 11 seconds. So I was quite pleased with that. Doing this quite late in the day, so there's likely to be a chance to compare with Moan and Jason, who are so often my rivals for time, and indeed, all correct. And then I flip down to the scores, and there I am, just 23 seconds ahead of Moan on this occasion. So quite pleased with that, because he's become a fearsome competitor. Frankly, I think anybody who thinks I'm a favourite for the championship this year is really not paying attention to his times on even hard puzzles. He's doing phenomenally well. I don't think I haven't noticed. So some of the other definitely genuine competitors, Verlaine at 6:35 and Jason at 7:01, quite pleased to nearly take a couple of minutes out of that. Andy Fisher at 7:09, some very good times there. So I was reasonably satisfied that it was indeed worth doing for me, just to prove. I may do more live solves, but I will be conscious that talking about it does seem to cost me something like a minute and a half every time. So happy to do that, but glad to know maybe that is the effect. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon on Cracking the Cryptic.